It's another lovely day, and the show is Conversation. Today, we are going to be looking at something that brings us joy, but at a point, just like a packaged goods, we have some of them, tented coming out into our homes, our family. What do I mean? We're talking about our children. The birth of a child, everyone knows, is something that gives delight, even when you are not involved in the delivery, even when the baby is not yours. Children are joy. But have you imagined some children come out already abnormal, from one deformity to the other, causing pain, concern to the parents involved? Well, why does this happen? Congenital disorder or abnormalities, if you choose, will be our focus today because we want to ensure that we understand what to do, how they can happen, and then, of course, how, if it happens, what we can do to ensure that we're righting it. And I know that particularly we're paying attention to club food. Ask me why, and I'll answer you in the course of the program. My name is Elizabeth Abai, and I'm not going to help anybody do introduction. Everybody get out, yeah?
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Deva. I'm at your mom, and it's good to be here.
And my name is Patience Eloy Abba. I'm delighted to be with these women.
And
My name is Ekene, Dr. Ekene Sikako. I'm very happy to be in your midst. Thank you.
Dr. Kenya will be guiding us a whole lot into what we'll be discussing today. But that's just before we, get to open our bag and discuss it. Let's see what really are the key factors about congenital abnormalities.
A congenital disorder is one situation no one wants, but wishing it away never really takes it away. Rather, knowing key facts can help. According to the World Health Organization, an estimated 240,000 newborns die worldwide within 28 days of birth every year due to congenital disorders. Congenital disorders cause a further 170,000 deaths of children between the ages of 1 month and 5 years. Congenital disorders can contribute to long-term disability, which takes a significant toll on individuals, families, healthcare systems, and societies. 9 of 10 children born with a serious congenital disorder are in low and middle-income countries. As neonatal and under 5 mortality rates decline, congenital disorders become a larger proportion of the cause of neonatal and under 5 deaths. The most common severe congenital disorders are heart defects, neural tube defects, and Down syndrome. Although congenital disorders may be the result of one or more genetic, infectious, nutritional, or environmental factors, it is often difficult to identify the exact causes. Some congenital disorders can be prevented. Vaccination, adequate intake of folic acid or iodine through fortification of staple foods or supplementation, and adequate care before and during a pregnancy are examples of prevention methods. Finally, every potential parent should be armed with this information when they choose to have children.
All right, if you watched that, I'm sure you are as sober as we are in the studio. It was, touching for me because we all go out there, we pray to have children. When people marry, we all pray that we say, God bless them with, lovely children. Eventually, when these children come, sometimes after several years of waiting, we now find one thing not right. And I keep asking myself, why? I want to throw this question straight up to Dr. Ekene. What are we doing wrong as mothers? What are we doing wrong as parents? Is it our fault? Why do we have abnormalities in birth?
Well, first of all, I want to assure you that it's not our fault as parents. Neither is it our fault as mothers, because there's this feeling that we are the ones that carry the pregnancy. So perhaps there are some things we didn't do right. While some abnormalities as a result of maternal carelessness or some maternal attributes, a lot of them are of unknown cause. Unfortunately, some of them are not even preventable. Like, you can't even know that so and so can have it. So these are the things I need to do before that. While some, just like the clip said, some are preventable by vaccinations. So I think the best we can do for ourselves is something like what we are doing now, creating awareness, so that people know that these things are common and they are in our midst. And so that when it happens to us or to someone we know, like a family member, you'll be able to offer the support that they need. Usually, the people you just saw on screen, they just need your support to live a difficult life, but a bearable life. They go through so many hospital visits, so many uncertainties. Some of them are unable to do certain things their age mates are supposed to do. So we just need to offer the support. When they grow, the few of them that live to adulthood, some of them can't get good jobs. They can't just do the regular thing. What are you talking about? Some of them can't even stand long hours in the kitchen to cook for their family. So that is how it affects their life. It's nobody's fault really, but it's just what we've come to live by, and we just have to learn more about it so that we're able to offer the support that they need.
You know, I was going to say that is there a way we can prevent it for the person we marry? Because I've seen couples that have had three of these same children, and they say it's chromosomes.
Yeah.
So, is there any test to say, okay, I'm going to marry Mr. A or Mrs. B? We have to do a test to show if our coming together can produce a child that has Down syndrome. Is there anything we can do?
Yes, so that's called prenatal or genetic screening or genetic counseling in developed countries. But it starts with knowing that you have this disorder in your lineage,
Okay.
or that it's even genetic.
Now I know why people will ask, say, did you ask questions before marrying the person?
Exactly. In a traditional way, but they ask questions.
Yeah, back
Yeah.
then some
Exactly.
serious investigations used
So
to be
that's-
carried out into the lineage and stuff.
Exactly, but that's if you know. How about if you don't know? You just met and you're in love, and it's time to do some basic tests. Like, for instance, let's bring it down to Nigeria. We
Yes.
just do basic tests: HIV genotype, perhaps blood group. But then, who really goes to do genetic counseling? If you ask your spouse to be that you want to do genetic counseling, he will be suspicious, as if there's something you're already aware of. So those are the things. So, but yes, I'm just being real. So
Yeah.
we need to start having those discussions, demystifying them, so it's not strange. So that if someone raises it up, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I've read it up somewhere. I think I'll go with you. It's just very common disorders like sickle cell, which shows on the face, or even something as serious as HIV. People don't even still take it seriously. So these things are important. And then, so that's for prenatal. So there's a perinatal. During pregnancy, you can also find out some of these things. Yet it's not very common. In some hospitals, it's very expensive.
If I find out when the baby is already in the womb, what am I supposed to do?
You are aware.
You are aware, and you are ready for it.
You are aware. You start discussing it with your care provider. The doctor themselves are aware. Remember, some of these deliveries take place in the villages. They may not even have these facilities. They just show up. In the case of clubfoot is a clinical diagnosis. It's only when the baby is born you see it, unless the person had an anomaly scan. I had an anomaly scan because I could afford it. You have it middle of the pregnancy. Some people, during the course of the anomaly scan, they discover that some of the babies they're carrying are incompatible to life. The doctor will advise you and give you the option. They will not force you. They give you the option to perhaps terminate the pregnancy, because when you eventually have the baby, imagine having a baby, let's say, without a head, or you remember the time of Zika virus and all that. So the doctor is there to guide you, to give you all the necessary information that you need, and then you take the decision. Some end up terminating the pregnancy and they feel okay. Some say no, they don't want to, they carry on. So, but you need to be aware of, if you have this pregnancy to term and you have this baby, this is the life you should expect. In the case of clubfoot, I know we're still going to talk about clubfoot, but I just want to say that many people don't see it until it shows up. There's another
What is club food?
Yeah,
Let's
I'll
Perhaps we'll
play
come,
back the feature
we'll come to
to
that. There's
do
another
that.
there's another picture I saw.
I'll play a
There's
video to show
another
it.
video I saw. There's another deformity I saw. I just want to talk about it because they are of different types. It's called spinal bifida. So there are different types of spinal bifida. Spinal bifida is just a herniation of the spine. That the you know how straight the spine is. So when there's a gap somewhere, I'm trying to use layman's words so they understand. So your spine didn't close well. So some part of the spine leaks out. But there's a type that does not leak out, and there's a type that does not come with a bulge. So sometimes you see their back, they have something that looks like a lump.
Is that what we call
And-
humpback or hunchback?
No, not hunchback. It will just be like navel. You know those people that have big navel? We see
Yeah,
it at the
yeah.
back, and
Oh.
sometimes the skin over it is transparent. You can actually see the spine breathing, and when they are breathing, it will just be moving like that.
Wow.
However, there's another type that is called spinal bifida occulta. It doesn't show through the skin because it's just a slight herniation inside, but it comes with neurological implications. The baby may just be growing normally, and from year 3, you notice that he or she is not doing what a 3-year-old is supposed to be doing. Or perhaps from even the age of crawling, they start losing their balance, you start making investigations. So if you're fortunate and you are living in a developed country that's from neonatal stage, they pick these things up, good and fine. But this is where the government comes in. I think we should also be talking about subsidizing this genetic screening
Actually, just
premarital,
making sure that
prenatal,
is
available,
not just available,
affordable.
compulsory.
Oh,
That's me, because when the deed is done, the child lives forever with the
Yes.
pain.
absolutely.
You know, so if it's made compulsory, that is important for me.
This thing doesn't sound cheap. Even malaria, we've just barely
Yeah.
managed to get to the point where
Yes.
the medication is highly affordable.
Yeah.
And even so, there's still a lot of people that can't buy the basic
The
malaria
basic
this thing.
Absolutely.
So certainly it would be beautiful if government could do that, but maybe some of our very wealthy philanthropists
Exactly.
could
So
have
invest.
could invest in things like
Yeah.
this and help out, because I don't know how capable government is of carrying on all of these, big issues.
Okay, beyond the government, assisting us, I'm just wondering, as you were saying, that some of them are preventable. Are there lifestyle, of a mother beyond the genetics, while the child is in the womb, that can cause abnormality?
Absolutely. The one that I believe that smoking, maternal smoking causes a lot of harm than good. And then when a woman is pregnant and she smokes, she also puts herself at risk to so many of these congenital disorders. And there's one, unfortunately, she cannot do much about. It's also environmental. You can choose. You can really. Not many people have a choice to say, okay, this is where I have to live for a long time. Some are there because of their jobs. Some women move because their husbands got a job and all that. But then, how many of us move to Abuja, for instance? Do you know the chemical composition of the soil in Abuja? Do you know what the weather is like? When you go to a village in the north, you don't know whether they have some poisonous things that you can react to. So there's some things we don't have control over. But the one I can really remember right now is that maternal smoking puts the unborn baby to so much risk. And of course, maternal age. We know that these chromosomal abnormalities and some congenital abnormalities are worse with increased maternal age. From age 35, please, people should not be scared. I'm not saying you cannot have babies beyond 35, but perhaps it's already your family, your genetics is already at risk, or you have something to suggest that. I think if you have your baby at 48, 50, you stand a high chance of having those manifestations.
Okay, I don't know. Is there a spiritual angle to this? I want to talk about it because I have a neighbor.
I think I'm
She
liking
told
that.
me, yeah, she actually told me that she had this very good-looking child that was not hitting any milestone. And the boy would just be lying down there. I think it's one of these Down syndrome chromosomal things. And she told me that the child was okay until 3 months. One day he was sleeping and he shouted from his sleep. And that's when she began to notice the child was not thriving anymore. So I want to talk about that. Can they send
Okay.
it to somebody
Okay.
or to a
Send.
child?
Is there a
Okay.
text
That's
message?
what she
So
said now.
I'm
She said it was
happy.
sent to her child.
let me defend the one that I can defend. I'm a medical doctor, and I also I know what might have happened. I'm going to give you an example of what might have happened. What might have happened in that case? Some of these abnormalities manifest after some immunizations. I have a personal experience of a friend whose son was okay until 10 weeks immunization. You know the schedule.
Yes.
Yes, and how do you even observe when something is amiss in a 10-week-old? You must really be a pro of a mom to observe. So sometimes the deed has been done, and then it's from, just like I said earlier, it's from 4 months, 5 months, you start noticing that. That's number one. Number two is that a lot of fevers can also cause some neurological disorders, and they may not know. They may have treated it but didn't treat it well. So that's one of it. I may not be an expert in spiritual matters, so let me not comment on that. I'll leave it to our pastors and men of God to comment on. But that is what I think might have happened in that case.
I got a little bit confused. You said immunization can spark it
That's
off.
scary.
Yes, some immunizations are live vaccines, and some, just like she was talking about anti-malaria, some people react to, let's say, even chloroquine, and with itching all over their body, while some don't. So,
Yes.
but it's the same medicine, it's the same brand, it's not expired. So people receive vaccinations very differently, and you may not know. You may not know until you actually take it. In some cases, um, when you go to do something, sometimes they test a patch. Even I think when you even want
Yeah,
to
when
take
you
a
want to do
TB,
skin tests.
exactly, they do a patch so that they'll see whether you react to it. But in the case of some immunizations, not some, it's not done, especially
Oh.
infant immunization. So it's like that. Even, do you remember even the common ones, like the normal the normal immunizations we receive, IPV and all that? They tell you that some, they tell you to keep paracetamol by your
Yes,
side.
yes.
That your
Yeah.
baby, those are reactions, that your
Yes,
baby
sure.
may come down with fever.
Fever. Most of my babies had
There's
it.
one they told me, I can't remember the particular one, but they'll tell you within an hour, don't give paracetamol yet, or don't bathe
Yeah,
because
just
of changing
keep the
temperature.
leg. Yeah.
Exactly. So those are all reactions. Those are all reactions. It's just that the one she's talking about is a very severe form of reaction, and many babies don't recover from it.
You know, I think it's quite scary because children, young mothers, a lot of us, when we're going to give our babies immunization, from the house we give paracetamol. And now I'm hearing that there are some that you do,
Yes.
and you don't do paracetamol for
Yes.
1 hour.
Yes.
Then some you put. Meanwhile, the older women will tell us, give paracetamol before you go, so that when they give, the baby will not be hot.
Yes, that's
You know?
why we are
So we
grateful
really need
for,
to listen
medical
to.
science,
Yeah.
and things change. Many times it's no more how our parents parented, how our mothers did their own motherhood. So honestly, sometimes some of the things, when I was pregnant and I went to antenatal as a patient, it was a different experience than as a doctor, being sitting on the other side of the table.
I like that.
Yeah, so you'd be like, oh, is this what people go through? And then you have to wait for every
I like-
test results to
that.
come out. So yes, and then the nurse is telling you what to do. You'd be like, oh really, where were you when I was in medical school? But things have changed. Things have changed. Research is going on. That nurse probably knows more than I do in terms of taking care of a baby. And there's some vaccinations they will give you. They say don't dab. You know, you want to comfort the baby. You want to ease the pain. They'll tell you don't dab. Just
Yes.
give 30 minutes and all that. So things have changed really. So I just want to advise every mother out there, especially the pregnant ones and those that are yet to get pregnant. Just follow whatever your healthcare provider does, and not just the doctors, the nurses, whatever they tell you, just go by that.
Talking about the things our mothers did, this is an aside. It's just a funny thing that I remembered. You know, all these old wives' tales, things to do, things not to do. Forgive me for using a brand name. Who remembers Rob or Mentholatum?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know
That
that
was the remedy for
back it was a remedy for everything except stomach pain?
Yes.
Are you
And
sure?
if
And
you
meanwhile,
had-
they'll put it on your
some used to
navel.
lick it.
They'll put it on your
Never say
navel.
What are you saying?
Loud it.
Some used to lick it. If I had
Cough.
either malaria or cough,
Hi.
they will give me
Massage.
that thing to lick. my mother will use it after giving me a very hot bath. She would
Yes.
massage my whole body with it, rub it on my neck, put it inside my nostrils. Only for me, the other day, just out of boredom and curiosity, I decided to read the label on one of them, saying, "Don't swallow." I laughed.
You have eaten it.
I said,
We
"What
have
is
all
don't swallow?
eaten it.
This thing that can use a teaspoon and scoop it and finish it right now that I'm sitting. Which one is don't
No,
swallow
don't
here
swallow.
again?"
It doesn't-
Anyway,
They even say
it's one
don't
of-
put inside your nostrils.
don't place in nostrils.
Well,
I
that's where-
laughed when
that's
I
where you
saw
get
those
the
things
relief.
that day.
That's where you get the
I
relief.
mean,
And it
anyway.
works. You know, the way you feel like hell for like 10
I
minutes.
think it was
but
just God saving
before-
us
It was just-
because the makers
God
of those
saved
things,
a lot of
you
children.
know,
those
clearly
days.
told us not to use them that
Yes,
way, and we still
absolutely.
disobeyed.
And guess what? My
As
mother was a
good
nurse.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
UK
it?
trained.
Can you imagine it?
Wow.
Those
Amazing.
things, well,
Anyway, before I really go into what I want to share with you today, I want to know. I go on social media, you know, a whole lot of them. I see pregnant women doing all manner of things. You know, they do display, they twerk, they twist, they dance,
They go naked.
they go naked in front of very loud lights. Can these things affect?
In front of very loud what?
Like a ray of lights,
Oh,
you
I
know,
see.
exposing the belly.
Well, it
Will
depends
these
on-
things, all those movements, body movements, showing
that-
agility?
So it depends. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for any mother that is doing all those strenuous exercises for the first time or for the camera because social media is the in thing now. But the truth is that if they've been doing it before, like there's a dance instructor I follow on Instagram. I met her when she was 9 months pregnant. She was still a dance instructor. And you very well know that some athletes also still run in pregnant. They may not compete actively, but they still do their routine training. They tone it down, but they still do those things. Why? Because their systems, their muscles and ligaments around their uterus, they are used to all that. But please, if you're not an athlete, you're not an instructor, and you've not been used to strenuous activities, if they try it, they'll pull something and it might really injure them. That's why, you know, pregnant women, especially towards 8 months and 9 months, their ligaments in preparation for labor and stretching, their ligaments are very loose. They tend to falls. So please, they should not be doing all that. But it doesn't lead to congenital malformation. In fact, most of these congenital malformations happen before the woman even knows that she's pregnant.
Oh,
Very early.
wow.
Like
Wow.
spinal bifida, yeah, most of these neurological issues occur in the first few weeks of life when the fetus is still forming. So they don't even know it. So activities like that don't affect it.
okay.
No, but Liz, seriously, like when you're talking about the twerking and things like that in dancing, I thought you were going to ask whether the child will come out stubborn.
The only thing is that the child will be used to noise. The child will be used to reading. The child might like to dance. I didn't particularly twerk in my pregnancy, but I love music and I love to dance. I realized that the first time I took my baby to church with all the loud music, he wasn't scared. He was
nice.
already used to reading. You know, none of my children cried. You know, some babies when you take them to church for the first time, the loud music from the instruments scare them. So that's just the only thing. But in terms of congenital anomalies, by that time the baby is formed and anything that goes with it.
Okay.
For an intending mother, is there anything they can take to ensure that something like spinal failure, we don't get it? Is there anything you can take, knowing that, okay, I'm going to start having babies?
Yes.
Is there anything we can take?
So everybody preaches good nutrition. Well, how many women in the rural places can afford it? And then of course they talk about folic acid. A lot of neurological disorders are as a result of certain deficiencies, folate deficiency, iron deficiency, so many of those. If you ask me how you ensure you get all these things, I'll just say to have a very well-nourished, balanced diet. So we might say take folic acid. The average rural woman may not know, but if you say may not know how to go about it, they may not even be able to afford it. Even if they were given free, some cannot afford transport money to go and get it free. So those are the issues we are talking about. But if they take their vegetables, they take their eggs, and they just do minimal exercise and keep healthy, I think many studies have suggested that good nutrition and fortifying yourselves with certain vitamins help a lot to prevent these things.
What really does folic acid specifically do? You've mentioned it like 2 or 3 times now.
It helps in neural tube formation.
Mm.
It helps to make sure that all the I don't know. I want to tone it down to how you
So we can
understand.
understand.
Yeah.
Yes, it 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 helps a lot in the chromosome to make sure that everything forms well.
That's
Okay,
good.
before we move in deeper, autism and Down syndrome, what is the relationship? Is it a birth disorder too, or it happens after the child is born? For autism, for children who are autistic.
They are all birth defects. Autism and which one did you mention?
Down syndrome.
Yes. Autism is a spectrum.
Okay.
Autism, and it can also manifest at different stages of the baby's life. So perhaps that's when you see some later, like 9 months, or maybe when their mates have started working. So, and some may not manifest the full complements of, some have slow speech,
Mm.
some have a poor balance, and so many of those examples. For Down syndrome, there are some key features you see when a baby with Down syndrome is born. There's some distinct look of the face, the eyes, the webbing of the face, and all that. But then, with the support of your healthcare provider, you'll be able to handle some of these things. Down syndrome can be diagnosed in utero. So it's one of those things that if they do a chromosomal screening, they can find out. The question, like you said, is what to do with the
Next.
information when you
Get
find out.
yeah.
Okay. Now, I mentioned something earlier, and she asked a pertinent question: what is club foods? I would like us to, if my director is ready, play a particular report on club foods because I intend to talk about it. Why I want to talk about it, I will tell you when we return. If the director is ready, can we have that bit on club food?
Clubfoot is a deformity of the foot that affects the muscles and bones, which causes a child to be born with a foot that is twisted out of shape. About 9,300 babies are born each year with clubfoot in Nigeria. When untreated, the foot becomes more twisted and painful. Clubfoot affects the physical and social activities of the children. They are often abused, isolated, and it results in poverty in later years. Fortunately, a proven treatment can eliminate this lifelong disability. The Ponseti method requires a gentle manipulation of the foot and applying plaster, commonly called POP, by professionals to restore the foot to its normal shape and function. We can achieve a world free of untreated clubfoot. The treatment is available for children between the ages of 0 and 15 years. Children older than 15 years or adults can also come for consultation. For treatment, visit us at
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take its pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
See if she wants to ask something. No, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
Okay, congenital disorder is still what we are looking at, and we just saw a bit on club foods. Yes, I told you I will tell you why I want to, hit on that big time. That's because I happen to have had a child who had top foot.
Which of your daughters?
Yes, the second one.
I can't believe it.
The second one.
The doctor.
So,
Medical doctor, yeah.
yeah, she's a medical
Oh,
doctor
that's
now.
the one that's a medical doctor
Yes.
now.
So
That's my girl.
when I gave birth, she was okay. We went home. My mom was around. She was birthing her, but each time, they birth her, when they throw her up, she cries. But when she cries, her hands will be straight. She will try to quiver the hands, but the feet will point downward like this and didn't make any movement. And I kept wondering, what's this? My elder sister was there. One day she said, this feet is not normal. My mother said, this doesn't look
Was it
normal.
one foot or both?
Two of them.
Okay.
They were just dangling without life.
Downwards.
Yes, pointing down. No matter what you do, even when you wear her baby shoes, you wear her the shoes, the legs are like this, you wear the shoes. When you're done, the leg goes back like this. So within weeks, we took her back to the hospital. And they told us, I don't remember, I just grew older and found out the name was clubfoot.
Yeah.
They used something, Taliban, something, it's not
Yeah.
Taliban. Called it Talipex.
Congenital talipes
Thank you.
equinovirus.
Mhm. That's what they told him.
Wow.
So the name was so long, I wasn't bothered, but I was concerned about my child getting okay.
Yeah.
So they had to do the French treatment,
Yeah.
put a cast,
Absolutely. It's
and
called
I think it was
method.
every
week.
one week or 2
Yeah.
weeks, I don't remember. I had to go back to the hospital.
Yeah.
They check it. Eventually, when it was removed, within 6 or 8 months, the feet was okay. And the story, fast forwarding till now, she's still okay. The legs are okay. And luckily, she's a 6-footer. So I always tell her, please don't wear high heel. Because I get scared.
Because when you said luckily, I was trying to say, isn't that more bone weight for the ankles to handle? But now I get where you're coming from.
Yes.
She doesn't need to augment her height.
I always say,
anything,
please don't
yeah.
bother,
No, in fairness, if she loves heels, I think she can do whatever she wants. She can wear heels. And something that happened 25 years ago, if it was treated well, she's fine. Usually, when supported clinics who have been trained in Ponseti, what you described is called the Ponseti method.
Okay.
It was originated by a Spanish doctor, Ignacio Ponseti, who saw the different defects and the side effects and complications that came with surgery. So all these things you described could be cured or treated by surgery, but just like any other surgeries, there are complications and then there could be relapse. And then to fix the relapse is even more problematic than starting afresh. So what she also described is just a series of using POP casts to manipulate and adjust. And there are landmarks, there are things to watch out for. The professionals, the doctor, the physiotherapists, they all work together to achieve that. So the baby keeps coming. You have to bring the baby to the hospital every week to change the cast. And not just to change the cast, to review and see what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And we skipped something. Let me just explain really what clubfoot is. Just like she said, it is that congenital abnormality that occurs when a baby's foot is pointed downwards and curved, slightly curved inwards. It's like this, and it gets the name from the club of a golf. That stick.
Oh, okay.
You know how bent that stick, that golf stick is. And in some dialects in some countries, they call it, in Sierra Leone and Liberia, they call it turtle foot. You see the way
Yeah,
the turtle
okay.
is as well. Some also call it crab foot. Because in the rural areas, if you say club foot, you don't even dare call it talipes equinovirus. Nobody, even us, sometimes we bite our tongue saying it. So you try to describe it. I don't know what it's called in Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba, but I'm sure if I get all these language scholars, they'll be able to tell me. So sometimes it's best to describe it descriptively. The diagnosis is made clinically, so you have to see it. Your doctor or your care provider has to see it when the baby is born. Like if it wasn't diagnosed in utero, like we earlier discussed. Once the baby is born, you see it. I guess in your case, it's either it was not too distinct or perhaps you didn't pay attention. It's not very common. It's not very common, and it's not something you see like I was describing spina bifida. You see the deformity at the back. If you're not very observant, maybe as a first time mom or a second time, whatever, maybe you were excited or something. Another thing is maybe it was just one foot or it was subtle. but for the fact that it was pointed downwards, and then when you try to place the baby's feet, they come back in that position. So that is it in a nutshell. I think I would advise all mothers, if they see anything like that, if you're not sure, instead of like being unsure or doing guesswork, just go back immediately to your care provider, because the treatment outcome is always better when you go early, when you start early. When you start early, once the mother recovers from the delivery stress and stuff, from 1 month, or even some start from 3 weeks, they can start coming for treatment.
Okay, you just said something about when you try to put the adjust the baby's leg, it goes back. And then I remember that growing up, when they want to bathe the baby, my own place, the water is so hot, and they are pressing their head. And if you ask questions, they'll say, "Do you want her head to be big? Don't want her nose to be like this." And so they are pressing the nose, and they are saying the body. They tell you that the body is still soft and still forming. So yes, can adjust. These things, do they help? If you want your child to look a certain way, use hot water and press.
I don't want my grandmother and my forefathers to turn in their grave. Scientifically, well, the one of pressing the head, let me just tell you what happens. The babies, the membranes, the ligaments, the tendon, everything, when the baby is born, everything is soft. And even the skull, a lot of fusion is still hasn't taken place to its permanent position. So maybe the one of the baby's head, if you do it in a certain way, it can work. The only thing I know is that when some of these things happen naturally. Let me give you an example. When a woman has a baby, the usual route, the baby's head, I don't know if you've seen a baby being born right on time. The baby's head is cylindrical.
Yes.
Because the baby's and long.
Yes.
Because the baby just passed through a canal.
Birth canal.
But you know, without doing anything, before relations and mothers-in-laws even start coming, the baby's head starts turning back to round.
Yes.
Without any pressing, without doing anything. So I don't know what those women are trying to achieve.
You know, till date, if somebody's head is like this,
They
the mother is blamed.
press
She
it.
didn't use enough hot water to massage his head when he was small, or her head, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Anyway, doctor, I understand that there's a lot that you are doing with regard to the whole club food thing,
Yes.
to ameliorate the situation for
Yeah.
parents who are going through it, and children, of course. Can you tell us more about what you're doing? Is it a foundation? Is it a charity?
Yeah, so I'm really very happy to be here. This is the essence of what we do in Miracle Fit. I work with Miracle Fit, a US-based non-profit that is caring for babies born with club foot. It's a personal vision that the founder started 13 years ago, and it has grown to become larger than what she probably planned. So now we have a full organization, and we have partners in 34 countries working to take care of babies born with club foot. And their target is the low and middle income countries, especially at the rural areas, for the women that cannot afford it. You and I know that probably anybody, Madam Liz just gave her story. She went and she sought for medical attention, and she could afford it, right? Some even fly their babies abroad. Some delay, and then it's around 2 or 3 years, but eventually they fly their children abroad. How about the woman in the village that probably had a baby, that probably had a baby in the bus, or just at home, and just the baby showed up with club foot. So Miracle Fit works with NGOs, indigenous and local NGOs in Nigeria. In Nigeria, for instance, we are working with the Straight Child Foundation. They are based mostly in the east. So we have hospitals like FMC Omahia, FMC Owerri, FMC Abakaliki. Really, the plan is to saturate all the hospitals so that anytime you walk in, you get care for a baby born with club foot. What is happening with malaria, HIV? Now there's a national guideline. If a baby is born with HIV, we know what to do. So we also pleading that eventually, with government collaboration, we should be able to know what to do. In the northern and the north central, we also have an NGO we are working with, Health and Development Support Program, HANDS. The same thing. So what Miracle Fit provides is we provide training for health workers. You saw what she described. You saw what the video showed. It doesn't come easy. It comes with a lot of training. There's a lot of skill. In some cases, the doctor comes in some cases, the physiotherapist. And then you also have to train counselors. You have to talk to the parents about compliance. You have to talk to parents about the need for them to keep up high spirits. Because imagine if a parent has 6 children and one has club foot, probably the last. sometimes it's difficult to keep bringing the baby to the clinic. For, you heard what she said. The
Every
first
week.
phase, yes, the first phase of the treatment is called the casting phase. So you come for 4 to 5 weeks every week to change and review the casting. And then the one you didn't talk about, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago it wasn't available, but now there's a bracing phase. There's a special shoe they give
Yes,
them.
there was a shoe.
Oh yeah.
When they
There's a-
removed the casts, they gave a
exactly.
shoe.
There's a special shoe on a bar that they give them to guide the formation and the movement of the feet, and so that whatever was achieved with the casting phase will be maintained, and sometimes over 2 to 3 years.
When she even started walking, they said when she starts walking, I should bring her back, they'll monitor her movements.
Exactly.
Which we did. It was a lot of hospital visits.
Exactly. So it's a lot of hospital visits, and it's the onus lies on the parents. And when you and I know that when we talk about parents, we're talking about the mother. The mother is the one that usually brings the baby
Definitely.
to the hospital.
Yeah.
So we also train counselors,
I
social
see you saying
workers.
that with proud.
I mean, I know.
We train
I know,
social
I know.
workers, we train counselors to keep encouraging the mother. We try to make it, we even give transport subsidy to people that live very far,
Oh,
that
wow.
cannot,
That's
yes, that cannot
amazing.
afford it. Because do you know, you might think, oh, this treatment is free. Actually, the treatment is free. But some parents can still not come to access the care because they are living very far. Initially, when Miracle Fit started with the NGOs that are working with us, we were like, okay, let's plant one clinic in every state. But that single clinic is just close to the people around it. What of you have? Let's say we have one in Bokola that we are supporting University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. What of those that live very far from Bokola? Sometimes it takes 2,000 naira to go there and back. They cannot afford it. So sometimes we also provide transport subsidy at the discretion of the care worker. So we do a lot. We supply the clinic, all those things you saw them working with, the POP, the braces, the shoes, they all come free. So what the families just need to do is to go to the supported, to go to the supported hospitals and access care.
Okay.
That's
Let's see. We
amazing
have
stuff.
it is. We have some messages coming in. Somebody is asking me, a doctor, if a child has club feet and grows with it, how old can a child be for it to be late? I guess he's trying to find out.
Yes, I also got some similar questions on social media asking about adult club foot. Honestly, club foot can be corrected at any age. We're just
Oh,
talking
wow,
about
that's good
yes.
news.
We're just talking about
That's good
the
news.
the best outcomes and in fact, let me put it, the best painless outcome. Yeah, some for the children they feel some discomfort, but it's not utterly painful. But for an
It's
adult,
painful though. That child cried then. Each
you
time
know,
they were to do things on her leg,
Let me-
I go away and leave her with my mother.
yes, let me be honest, sometimes they are crying out of fear and
Oh,
strange
okay.
faces.
Okay.
The process itself is not, I'm also being comparative. It's not as painful as correcting it in adulthood. In adulthood, even surgery is involved because you have to elongate certain tendons, you have to cut. So that's what I'm saying. So if right now there's an adult that has clubfoot, they should just go to the nearest orthopedic specialist for assessment and they'll be advised accordingly. However, for a baby that has clubfoot, especially Miracle Fit is focusing on ages 0 to 5, the outcomes are best immediately after birth. So that's just the secret. If you present your baby as early as possible, the treatment outcomes will be better.
Okay, more questions are coming, even though this one is not exactly around congenital, but it's still for birth. He said, "Good morning, doctor. Please, is it true that some women get blind or even paralyzed during pregnancy? What could be the problem?" I don't know. I don't know how she got
Yes.
Terrible things I've heard.
Yes.
terrible. You've
I may
heard
not
about
be.
that?
I've heard
Yes,
of
even
people
some
going
lose their
blind,
some lose their teeth and some
Losing
have
their teeth
yes,
from pregnancy.
Pregnancy.
yes. There's a lot of
even
hormonal
diabetes
imbalance.
can come on from pregnancy.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
Yes, I know
there's a
that.
lot of hormonal changes that occur. Some, let me just use the layman's, or some clash with themselves and these things happen. So it's possible. All I can tell the person asking is possible, and it's not juju. And sometimes everything returns to normal. When I was in medical school, between my year 4 and year 6, a lady I knew, because we got to become friends, got pregnant twice. So I experienced 2 of her pregnancy. She had this. First of all, she had a gap tooth that I always admire, made her smile so beautiful. Can you believe that each time she was pregnant, this gap that grows in between the teeth will grow so big, like like this thing in pawpaw, like pawpaw seeds,
Yeah.
so big. She was unable to close her mouth. And miraculously, immediately after pregnancy, everything disappears. Because at some point, the first time I saw her, it was already there. I was like, is she going to need surgery to remove it? But after pregnancy, everything, she said, "Hey, that's how we used to do her." Hey. I said, so on top of your big nose, this one too. Oh my goodness. Yes,
You're talking as if
I
you
remember
saw
your post,
my
your
Facebook
post.
post of some days back. I said, if you pass through pregnancy and your nose didn't double, you don't know what God has done for you. I don't know what it is with
Sometimes
pregnancy
the
and
nose
noses.
comes out before people
But
even
what
know
is
that
that
you're
thing? What
pregnant.
you are a doctor, please explain. I
I
don't
can't
understand
explain.
it.
I beg.
Are we
She's
breathing
not
for
a
two?
gynecologist.
Are we breathing for
You
two?
know, the nose, and it's not every
It's just
pregnancy. But it could be the same woman, and different pregnancies will manifest different things.
Yeah.
A certain pregnancy, your nose will just receive the
Your
whole
neck
this.
is black.
Yeah.
Everything.
Your neck is
It's
black.
hormonal
Your whole
change.
body
It's just
is
is
black.
black.
It's just hormonal changes, really.
Wow.
It's just hormonal changes.
Okay, so another person is asking here, please let Miracle Fit do something for adults with clubfoot. Is there
Okay.
hope?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but we are still trying to reach the babies, and we haven't even scratched. In Nigeria, I want to say that there are over 10,000 babies born with profit every year, and we're only reaching 4% of that. So, and then every year there's a carryover. So there's another 10,000 or over 9,000. So it's a big deal. If we can reach those people we have said to have succeeded with us, and that's why we're also calling on government to come and collaborate with the little we are doing. If external people are able to, like I'm talking about donors, are able to do the much they can do, I mean, what we are hoping is that clubfoot care and treatment can be integrated into everything we do, so that when you walk in, even in a PHC, when you go to a primary health care in your village, and they have clubfoot, they should be able to have a referral pathway. A particular cluster of PHCs should know that this is where we are sending our babies, because they may not have the full complement of staff to take care of it, but they can be able to refer to a general hospital or a teaching hospital, as the case may be.
Okay, just before we leave this discussion, I want to know, there's people are still writing, but before I take the next question, let me ask my own first. We talked about using hot water massage on a baby when it's born. Can that actually help, to correct clubfoot?
No, science hasn't taught me that. You're just giving the baby, if the hot water is not super hot, the baby is just having a good time. It will not it will not correct anything, because the feet or the foot, the affected foot, will still return to it. It's just like when you even see a paralysis, for instance, something that is out of control. When have you seen a bone contractor? When have you
Yes,
seen a
yes,
bone?
yes.
No matter how you can do it like this, but it will always
Return.
return
Go back.
back. So the hot water doesn't help.
All right.
If the hot water helps, what are we doing? Everybody will be doing hot water massage. You can even dip the baby inside.
Then the
But it
hot
doesn't-
water and
yeah,
cook.
yeah. I didn't say
All right. Can a woman who is trying to get pregnant take folic acid?
yeah.
Questions are coming. Let's see the next. The answer is what?
Yes, the answer is yes. It helps to prevent many other neurological disorders.
All right.
Not necessarily clubfoot, but
Clubfoot,
many
okay.
others.
And this other person goes directly, doctor, what is there a way to prevent clubfoot?
It's not preventable, unfortunately. I had said that earlier. So it's not really in the category of things you can say do this to prevent it. But the only thing you can do is you can become aware of it earlier than during delivery. So if you had your anomaly scan, you'll be able to know that this kind of baby is coming, and probably the mother will go and research and know what to do, and then the healthcare workers will also know what to do. There's a training Miracle Fit supports as well. It's called the early detection and referral. Will you believe that even some health workers don't know what clubfoot looks like?
Is a lie.
It is true. Even some nurses, some allied healthcare. So because the reason I'm saying it is that you may not always have the opportunity to be working somewhere with doctors. So some doctors can identify it, but some nurses and some junior healthcare workers may not be able to. So these are EDR training, early detection and referral. It's actually for healthcare workers. They teach them, they show them basic things about how to identify and then refer clubfoot.
Okay, I don't know. This a little away from clubfoot. I don't know if our hospitals are sending women home too early. And I'm saying this because of experience, something that just
After
happened
birth?
after birth.
Yeah.
Something that happened recently. a relative had a baby. After 24 hours, she was sent home. She got home and discovered that baby was not breathing fine. By the time they rushed to the hospital, the boy passed. Yeah, so she's still in mourning and hospital. So I'm thinking, are they sending women home too early? Or is it that they didn't notice that this child was having breathing problems? But the moment they got home, that's when she just noticed. Because she was lying down all that while the nurses were taking care of the baby, bathing the baby.
Yeah.
They got home, she picked her baby to do the first. And she discovered that this boy is not breathing normally. And when they go to the hospital, it was a done deal.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, are they sending women home too early?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. It's either of these two things. You should also find out. Some women pride themselves in going home early, especially when they deliver.
It's a thing.
When they deliver by
normal.
Well, every delivery is normal. When they deliver vaginally, I like to call it what it is.
Yes.
They want to. They are strong. In fact, some go to work in the morning and in the evening they are in labor. They have their baby. By tomorrow evening they are gone. So you really need to find out what happened. Then secondly, they may have actually been discharged, and at that moment the baby was fine. But on getting home, because the truth is that the whole pregnancy journey and the postpartum period, the period of postpartum is defined as 6 weeks after pregnancy. Anything can still happen to the mother
and to the child. All right, doctor, without meaning to cut you short, my director is really on my matter to wrap up because 1 hour is already fast spent, almost gone. But I must say thank you for coming. We've learned a whole lot about club food and other things, and a lot of people are asking for the contact, which we'll put or reply to you one-on-one to how to assess the treatment, right? Okay, and you still told us it's free. Can you say it by yourself?
It is free.
Okay.
Miracle
So
City
it's not me
supports.
What are you
saying
afraid? Are you afraid to
Miracle
say?
City is supporting
Elizabeth
free
said.
treatment for babies born with club foot in Nigeria. You just have to find social media so that you see all the list of hospitals and find the one close to you.
All right, you have a final word, just 1 minute.
Turned out to be a very interesting topic.
Thank you. And on behalf of everybody here, especially on behalf of patients.
Why patience? Elizabeth has started with me again. You know me and Elizabeth. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.